I know there were a lot of people, like, I made a video about it, and there were a lot of people like, "Oh, you're just fear mongering, blah 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 blah." But I don't think it's fear mongering to actually, like, talk about the possibility that it could happen, that we could turn into a society where women have no rights again, where women are treated as property and women are treated as, only worthy if they're able to have kids. Hey, patience. So that show was definitely a huge eye opener for me. Um, The Handmaid's Tale. If you have not seen it, I would highly recommend watching that show. When I got off live the last time, I think it was Thursday. Thursday, I think, was the last time I went live. I started watching that show Thursday evening, and I did not stop until yesterday. I watched all 5 seasons between the last time I went live and today. I watched every single episode because that's how invested I was in the show, in the idea that what happened in The Handmaid's Tale could actually happen to us in real life. And then, this might sound fucking crazy, but I, I don't even care if it sounds crazy. I just want you to know that my phone knows what I'm thinking, not what I'm saying. Not what I'm saying, what I am thinking. Because there were a couple of times over the last several days where I was thinking something. I never said anything out loud. I never said anything out loud. I only thought it. And whenever I opened my phone up, it was showing me ads of the things that I had thought about, showing me videos on TikTok of the things that I had thought about when I never ever opened my mouth to say what it was that I was actually thinking about. Does that make sense? Because I thought that I was like going crazy. Hey, Danny, did that happen to you too? I thought I was going crazy. I was like, this could not possibly be. It could not possibly be that the phone, the earbuds, whatever is able to get inside of my thoughts. And I don't care if I sound crazy. That's what happened because I am very, very choosy about the things that I say out loud. I am very particular about the things that I say out loud. Even if I am thinking about doing something, I am careful about how I word things whenever I voice them because I know that the words that you speak definitely influence your perception of reality. And so again, I know this. And because I know this, I know that those things that I had been thinking about, I know I didn't say them out loud to anybody because I literally have nobody to fucking talk to. Like, you guys are the only people that I talk to. Aside from y'all, I have no friends like in real life. And I know that that might sound sad, but it's just the truth. I don't have any people that I trust in real life. So you guys are literally it. I talk to my dog too, but like, he doesn't listen and comprehend the way that other humans do, if that makes sense. So it is nice to actually be able to like run my thoughts off of another person, but I and I don't feel bad about not having friends like in real life. I have had toxic friends, I have had toxic relationships, and I am so proud that I no longer have those kinds of friends anymore. So I am really, really proud that my circle is as small as it is, because that means that I am only choosing people to be in my circle who are worthy of being in my circle, rather than just accepting any friend just to have friends. You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of fucking toxic people out there in this world who have not done the healing that they need to do on themselves, and then they project their bullshit onto you. What's up, Jason? So, yeah. Um One of my old friends actually reached out to me. I don't think I had talked to him since probably 2016. And he reached out to me, and I was excited to hear his voice. Yeah, it's been a minute. I was just telling them that thank you, Jason. I was just telling them that I got caught up in watching The Handmaid's Tale. The last time I went live, after I got off, I started the series and I literally watched the series from the last time I went live until today. Like, that's what I've been doing nonstop. I've been watching it on my phone while I'm working. I've been watching it after. Like, you did. I've been watching it after. The show is incredible. But one of my old friends reached out to me and he was like, you know, I really loved you. I never forgot about you. I was always thinking about you. Not romantically. It wasn't like a romantic friend. He's like a gay guy. And he was like, I never forgot about you, but your relationship really like turned me off from wanting to hang out with you because the two of y'all were just so toxic together. And I know this. I know that we were toxic together. I know. Did I see it while I was in the relationship? No, I absolutely did not see it while I was in the relationship, when my mind was clouded with drugs and alcohol and addiction to the other person. Because when you're in relationships that are toxic, you not only become addicted to the other person, you I wish he had been more honest about that whenever we stopped being friends. Like, I wish he had told me, because I would have respected his opinion and I would have been like, "Oh, thank you so much for helping me see." But literally nobody said anything. Everybody just watched us have this volcano versus tornado relationship and nobody fucking said anything. And I'm like, if you were really a friend, in my mind, I'm thinking, if you're really a friend, if you really love me, then you would have said something. That's how I feel. I feel like anybody who has your best interest at heart is going to tell you when whatever is happening in your life is fucking dangerous, toxic, unhealthy, whatever. So I did express to him that I was very disappointed that instead of talking to me about his feelings, that he just decided to end the friendship. Um and we're gonna try to rekindle a friendship, but it is going to be difficult to trust somebody who wasn't willing to open up and speak, I guess, against what they thought that I might be negative towards them about. So I told him, like, if you want to be friends with me moving forward, like, I need to know and understand that you're going to hold me accountable if I'm doing something that is dangerous, unhealthy, or toxic or whatever. And he said he would, so I'm going to hold him to that. But like, me as a friend, I'm not going to let you make choices. I mean, of course, you're going to make your own choices. But if I see that you are making choices that are unhealthy, I think that I would be like, raise my hand and be like, hey, I don't think that this is like the best thing for you to be doing. And I just honestly, I wish he would have said something to me, because I did really respect his opinion, and I did value the friendship. So um, it was interesting to learn that that was the reason why he no longer wanted to interact with me as a friend. But I guess he felt, thank you, Jason, but I guess he felt like the relationship superseded my friendship with him, because my ex would basically I guess he felt like he was controlling in a way and always wanted to be a part of the situation, like we could never hang out alone. But now that I know, I think that, hey lady, I think that it's very valuable to hear those words from somebody who was, a friend and then stopped being a friend, cuz it's been a while. It's been 10 years. I am doing well. How are you? Um I was telling everybody that I got on, and after the last time I went live, I got on and started watching The Handmaid's Tale, and I literally watched every single season within the last 5 days. Was it 5 days? Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. Yeah, 5 days. It was such a good show. Such a good show. It's crazy because it's like, that that can actually happen in society because it happened once before. I watched it on Hulu, but let's see if you can watch it somewhere else. Um, because it's happened before, it can happen again. And I had made a video talking about how I thought that it could happen again, and people went crazy. They're like, "Oh, you're just spreading fear and you're fear mongering this, that, and the other, and you liberals this and that." And I'm like, this video is not was not political. Like, I wasn't making the video to be political in any way. I was just stating facts. Like, history repeats itself, and I can totally see women's rights being stripped away from them and being forced to reproduce. We all know the reproduction rate is down, way down, because there's not a lot of people that want to have babies because it's too fucking expensive to have babies. So I can see a world where they force women, they take away women's reproductive rights, and they force women into reproduction. No, I haven't noticed twins and triplets being, more. I have not. So I'm sorry I was not live because I was really into this fucking show, like really into it. Okay. So you can watch it on Hulu, um, on Amazon Prime, on Apple TV, and on Fandango. It is such a good show. Like, I cannot say enough good things about this fucking show. It did get a little bit weirder towards the end. Like, I want to say the first 3 seasons were bomb. They were so good. And then there towards like season 4 and season 5, you could see a little bit of a decline in the storyline where it was starting to get a little annoying, but the first 3 seasons were definitely eye-opening and very reminiscent of, again, what could happen in our near future. Like, I feel like this is definitely something that is going to happen and can happen. Okay. But we stopped reading the book at chapter 11, and I'm going to go ahead and start with chapter 11 for the book reading. And I think so to make it a little bit easier for everyone to know when I'm live, I need to come up with a schedule so I stay consistent with that. It's a little bit more difficult for me to be consistent if I don't have like schedule I'm a schedule type of person, you guys. Can you see how orange my hands are? So I was making immunity shots, and in the immunity shots, there's turmeric, ginger, and this time I used blood oranges and lemons. And so it's lemon, oranges, turmeric, ginger, black pepper, cayenne pepper, and then I add a little bit of cinnamon. And then I add in 16 ounces of coconut water. And you have to drain it in a cheesecloth. So I was squeezing all the juice out of it. And now I look like a fucking Oompa Loompa. So weird. You can't really see it on the screen on YouTube, but on TikTok you can see it. Like that shit is orange as fuck. So funny. Anyway, the immunity shots that I've been making are really good, but you can tell that there's a lot of it does blend in with the blanket. It does have like a strong bitter flavor, and I'm guessing that's from the turmeric and the ginger because lime isn't. I mean, lemon isn't really. I mean, it's tart, right? But when you mix it with oranges and with water, it's not going to taste as tart. But the immunity shots, the ones that I made last week were fucking tart. So I was like, I did. Oh, shoot. I should have added honey. Why did and I bought a whole thing of it last time. Um I don't know if I'll want to mix this one again, but next time I'll remember to add honey. What I make usually makes enough for 7 full days. And I take, those little shot glasses. I take 2 little shots like this big every morning. And that lasted me about a week. So next time I'll add the honey just to take away some of the bitterness because it was bitter. I mean, I have to be honest. That shit was bitter. It was not good. It was everything I could do to get it down, but I got it down. And hopefully I can start to see like a difference in its benefits because I was told that these immunity shots, depending on what you put in them, is going to determine like how it helps you and your health. And I tend to have like a lot of inflammation in my body. I don't know if that's stress related or because of CPTSD. I don't know. But I hold a lot of my inflammation and stress right here in this particular area, like in the throat area. And sometimes when I'm asleep, like my hands will fall asleep. So I have to like wake up to like shake them out to wake them back up. So I'm hoping that the immunity shots will kind of help with that, kind of remove that whole situation. And prevent me from being so inflamed and my hands falling asleep and that sort of thing. Not to mention that I have, an underactive thyroid. So I'd like to find something that helps speed up my metabolism so that I'm able to not only lose weight, because I do need to lose like 10 or so pounds, but help me keep it off. Because of the underactive thyroid, it's really, really hard for me to lose weight. Like the last time the last time I really worked out and like did I went all in and was exercising and lost 25 pounds. I was working out twice a day for an hour each time. That's how hard I have to work my body in order to lose weight. Like it's it's a little frustrating. And then it usually takes like I want to say 4 months before I see any results. Any. The last time it took, so I started right when COVID happened in March of 2020. Actually I had started a few months. I think I actually started in January going to the gym. And by May, I was starting to see results. Like that's how long it takes because of the underactive thyroid. So me stepping on a scale like once a week is just stupid because I'm not going to see any results that quickly, which is a little disheartening, especially if I'm working so hard and nothing's happening. But anyway, there's that little rant. Thank you guys for listening to me rant. But yes, back to the schedule. It's easier for me to stick to a routine when I have things scheduled out for me. Like all of my grooming clients are on a routine and they're pre-booked because it's easier for me to work when I know that I have to get up and go to work. Like I am what they call a person who needs obligations to feel motivated, if that makes sense. Sometimes it's hard for me to motivate myself. So having obligations like grooming clients in the morning at a specific time is beneficial for me actually getting up and going and doing the damn thing. So I will try to come up with a schedule that makes sense because I know that there's a few people that you guys like to watch on live. Yes, I need to be prepared. Like mentally, I have to be prepared. I need to be prepared as far as like the time goes. Like I have to have a schedule. When I was younger, I could just go with the flow. But now that I've gotten older and I know that I have a little bit of autism and a little bit of ADHD, I now understand why I things need to be so rigid for me and I thrive on structure. That's just how that's just how it works now. And if I had known that whenever I was younger, it might have been different for me if I knew that I thrive off of structure and routine and building those habits that way. But I didn't know and nobody cared to help me find out anything about myself, so here I am learning it all now. Parenting myself in my fucking 30s and 40s. But at least I'm doing it, At least I'm parenting myself. At least I'm taking the time to get it done, get it done, get it done. Okay, we're on chapter 11, and this is the part where we're talking of separating from mother. And if you are new here and you are not sure what we're talking about, I talk about narcissism, how it relates to relationships, addiction, and abuse, and all that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, definitely hang out. So, a part of and apart from separating from mother, because if everyone just turns out like their mother, then what's the rat's ass point? To become authentic and whole, this is the ultimate goal in recovering from a narcissistic mother. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming to hang out. The next step is for you to take forward this. Oh, sorry. I'm reading a little bit too fast before my mind can actually process. The next step for you to take forward this is to separate psychologically from mother as an adult so that you can grow your own internal emotional psyche. For when you grow your internal emotional being, you become resilient and strong and you can stand on your own. You can sustain yourself in the face of maternal deprivation. Bear up any negative litanies from your mother and withstand criticism from anyone in the external environment. You will become a woman who can be around your mother and be away from her, and you will remain whole in both situations. This is the ability to be a part of and apart from at the same time. Oh, excuse me. All the while keeping in steady access a solid sense of self. It's nice to meet you, Rebecca. I'm Vivian. Why is psychological separation from mother important for your own mental health? Individuation, a normal part of development, begins at age 2 as a child begins to say no and mine and continues throughout life as the child matures, develops her own wants and needs and desires, and deliberately breaks away from her parent to form a healthy sense of self. I'm sorry. Healthy parents allow this to happen gradually and naturally. The individuation process is stunted for children of a narcissistic mother because she has either engulfed or ignored them. An ignored child does not get her emotional needs met and cannot work on self and separation because she is still trying to fill up her own tank with mother's love. She keeps trying to merge with her mother like a small infant, trying to get mother's approval and attention. An engulfed child is discouraged from seeing herself as separate from her mother and from having individual needs, desires, thoughts, or feelings. Neither daughter's emotional needs are met, and each has difficulty in developing a sense of self. If you've grappled with issues of control over your own life and feelings, or you can't enjoy your successes, you are struggling, like most daughters of narcissistic mothers, to separate and individuate. You are probably still searching for and developing the whole of you. For many years, at the time I felt overwhelmed, I had a favorite saying: I'm too little for that. I would find myself using it whenever I faced a big project or was up against a major life decision. One day it dawned on me that this was an unconscious expression of a much deeper reality. During a therapy session, while I was processing the breakup of a love relationship, my therapist innocently asked me why I had decided to stay in the house in which I'd lived with the man I was getting over. It seemed too big for just one person. So why did I not move and find my own smaller, more practical home that could be just mine? I remember feeling blank and numb and responded, I'm too little to move. My therapist's eyes glistened and he smiled. Good, Rebecca. I'm glad you're taking notes. We're on chapter 11, so there's a lot for you to catch up on if you want to catch up to this point. If you go back into my live streams, you will, or if you go into mother daughter narcissistic dynamic playlist, you'll see all of the previous chapters. I don't know if I took the time to label which lives were which chapters, but they're all in that playlist of narcissistic mothers and daughters. I felt instantly Yeah, you can go back and listen. I felt instantly defensive and annoyed, but he gently explained, "That's the issue right there. I did feel too little. When you haven't completed individuation with your mother, it leaves you unfinished and emotionally immature, a half person aspiring to become a whole person. If your emotional self has been stunted, it doesn't grow in proportion to your physical, intellectual, and spiritual self. So you have to heal in order to become a whole person." Years ago, in the times of stress, I would unconsciously recite the words, "Oh, mommy." Thank goodness that impulse is gone, but I do remember how infantile and orphaned I felt. It makes me smile to write this today simply because I can acknowledge this and be grateful that I have grown beyond it. Part of separating from your mother in childhood is ridding yourself of negative self talk, such as, "I'm not good enough. I'm unlovable. I can't trust myself." Because you have internalized these messages, they speak to you now as your mother once did. Decide for yourself what those messages say and block them out and override them. As you do this, you separate in a healthy way from your dysfunctional mother and her self defeating belief system. You will recognize yourself as an individual woman. Gracie, 35. Hey, Mandolin. I'm sorry, I've been gone for so long. It feels like forever, but it's only been a few days. Thank you, Crack the Lack, for the gifts. Gracie, 35, remembers her struggle to individuate with painful clarity. "It took a long time to feel like a separate person from my mother. She merged into me, and then it was all about her, no distance." Marianne wants to be close to her family, but needs to maintain her hard won sense of self. "I seem to do really well with my established sense of self until I get around my mother and the family. And then it's like I get sucked back into the old roles we used to play. I want so badly to just be me, even when I'm around them all." I can truly say that that last statement is exactly what happened with me and my family, which is why I ended up having to go no contact, because I felt myself getting sucked back into the toxic dynamic and them not allowing me to be the new person that I had become and trying to pull me back in to being the person that they knew me as rather than the new person that was standing right in front of them. So it was hard for them to treat me as the person that who had grown past the mistakes that I had made and those types of things. So it was a hard decision to make, but they could not treat me like the individual that I had become. They kept wanting to treat me like the person that they thought that I was or who I had been in the past. And when you are constantly struggling with becoming your own individual person, the last thing that you want is to be treated like the person that they see you as rather than the person as who you are or who the person that you're trying to become is. So it can pull you back in and it can really suck you back into that toxic dynamic faster than you even know what is happening. So if you're not strong enough to set healthy boundaries and be like, "No, I'm not going to allow you to treat me like that," no contact might be the best thing while you grow the ability to create and maintain healthy boundaries. Because when you've grown up and you don't know what the fuck a boundary is, you don't know how to assert yourself in explaining what a boundary is. So sometimes it takes you needing to practice with people who are safe to you to practice with before you can go back into a life that you once knew, especially with your family of origin, and start creating boundaries with that family of origin as well. So don't feel bad if you do need to go no contact for a little while. It doesn't have to be forever. Just do what is necessary for you so that you can heal the person in that you are in your core. Right. It's all we know, that toxic dynamic. So whenever you separate from that, you're able to become a different person, become see different things and learn different ways of being, because you don't have to be like your family. If they're being toxic and calling you the black sheep, la da da, whatever, like you don't have to be like your family. You can be your own individual person and have your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own ideas, your own perceptions of life, your own attitude. Um, Without feeling like you're a bad person for growing beyond your toxic family. I'm still in the practicing phase as well. I'm still practicing with safe people in my life too. I'm not in contact with my family at all, really either. There was a death in my family at the beginning of last January, and I went to the funeral and was cordial with everyone because I obviously felt like that was the right thing to do. Um, but I maintained my healthy boundaries while being in that experience. The good news was that I didn't really have to be like alone with any of them, so that made it a little bit easier for me to, hold on to my authentic self without falling back into those patterns that happen when you're within that toxic dynamic. I mean, it's just what happens. It's hard for you to stand as an individual when you're around a bunch of people who expect you to behave a certain way because they're behaving a certain way, right? Like if you're in a circle with a bunch of people who are talking shit about one person, it's going to be really hard for you not to talk shit about the person that everybody else in the circle is talking shit about. Hold on, let me respond to this. Okay, sorry. Exactly. You so know what I'm talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So they wrote, unfortunately, it leaves a shadow of yourself to try to create new relps which aren't understood. And your family doesn't want to understand you as a new person because they don't, some of them don't want you to grow beyond the person that grew up with them, the toxic version of yourself. They want you to stay that person because if you're doing better, then that's reflecting negatively on them because they're like, oh, well, if she's doing better, then I'm not doing well enough and I need to do more. And they don't want to do more. They don't want to get better. They want to continue to stay in those toxic behavior patterns, that toxic mentality and mindset because it's what serves them. Thank you so much. It's been a I mean, I've been learning so much. Um because I just wanted to be a better person. I didn't want to continue living my life the way that I had been, being that person. And I wanted the cycle to end. I wanted to be able to have healthy relationships with my children, and I wanted my children to have healthy relationships with other people. And if I'm not modeling healthy relationships, how are they going to know what a healthy relationship looks like? And then we're just continuing the cycle over and over and over again. And I'm not getting better. They're not getting better, which means that the children that they have aren't going to get better. And it just continues. So at some point, somebody has to do the work to break the cycle. And unfortunately, or fortunately, it's been me and my family. And that's okay. I'm okay with breaking the cycle, and teaching my children how to have healthy boundaries, how to deal with their emotions without using drugs and alcohol. It's all part of a process. And I'm working to be the best version of myself that I can be so that they too can see me as a healthy, functioning adult, um, versus, a toxic, functioning adult. Because there's a lot of those in my family, a lot of toxic adults. Or really, they're adults, but honestly, they're so immature in their mind that they're still mentally like 15, 16 years old. They're just living in adult bodies, right? They're getting older, but they're not actually maturing. What does separation mean exactly? That's awesome. Yes. So she says some people have the mental capacity or capability. I'm older and very much respect people like yourself who rise above. It's definitely taken a lot of practice, a lot of practice. So, what does separation mean exactly? Psychological literature explains separation individuation as defining a sense of self and as differentiation. Every person has to undertake individuation from her family of origin to grow up fully. Exactly what I was just talking about. So she's going to explain it in more psychological terms. Psychological separation is an internal process and has nothing to do with geographically separating from your mother or family of origin. According to renowned family therapist Dr. Murray Bowen, an adult can regard herself to be further along in the individuation process the more she, number one, becomes less emotionally reactive to the family dynamics. That's what I was just talking about. Number two, becomes more objective in observing the family dynamics. Another thing that I was talking about, when you can see that your family is not functioning in a healthy way, you are definitely doing something positive for yourself, because knowing that is the first step into taking the necessary steps to get better. Oh, thank you so much for the gifts. And number three, becomes aware of the myths, images, distortion, and triangles she had been blind to while growing up. As you undergo the acceptance and grief process in the previous chapter, you can undertake these steps successfully, as Bowen states. The person who acquires a little ability to become a new observer and at controlling some of his emotional reactiveness requires an ability that is useful for life in all kinds of emotional styles. Most of the time, he can live his life reacting with appropriate and natural emotional responses. But with the knowledge that any time he can back out of the situation, slow down his reactiveness, and make observations that help him control himself and the situation. How do I release myself from the mother orbit? I've never read that book, Passenger 8. Is that is that Sherry Frankie's book? Is that what you're talking about? That's next. That's next. If that's the book that you thought I was reading. Yeah. I'm reading the book Will I Ever Be Good Enough? Healing the Daughters of Narcissistic Mothers. So, Sherry Frankie's book, I'm going to start reading that after we're done with this one. How do I release myself from the mother orbit? Releasing yourself from orbiting around your mother is the only way to gain true mastery over your life choices and to become who you are meant to be. Yeah, I got the book early on in the month thinking that I would be done with this, but this one um there's work that has to be done in this book so that you can heal, and I took a few breaks so that we could work on that individually, and you can go back a couple of lives to hear about those if you want to like work through those steps that we already went through. Where was I at? Okay. I take my clients through the following three steps when they are moving through this stage of development. Number one, understand how your mother projects feelings onto you. Number two, understand and cope with envy from your mother or others. Number three, eradicate negative internalized messages. Let's go through them together on the following pages. Number one, projection. Projection is best understood as a process by which a person takes her own emotions and sees them as coming from someone else, believing that the other person actually originated those emotions. People do this when they are not dealing with their own pain or inner conflicts and blame other people for their own turmoil. Daughters of narcissistic mothers are generally the scapegoats for their mother's projections, including fragile ego and self loathing. The daughter doesn't understand this hatred and internalizes it so that she feels that she is bad or not good enough. Because this begins for the daughter at such a young age, it feels normal and real. Coping with mother's envy. Daughters of narcissistic mothers commonly feel their mother's envy. It's time to recognize and understand it. Many people believe that to be envied would be a desirable, powerful experience, but in reality, being envied, particularly by one's own mother, is unnerving and awful. The daughter's sense of self is canceled by disdain and criticism. Her goodness is questioned or labeled bad or made light of, which causes her to feel like her reality as a person is obliterated. As the daughter analyzes what her mother appears jealous about, her looks, her achievements, material wealth, weight, personality, friends, husband, boyfriend, relationship with her father or siblings, she becomes to feel unworthy. It makes no sense to the daughter that her own mother would have these bad feelings towards her, and therefore she believes that something is wrong with her, the daughter. Daughters typically have a difficult time coming to terms with being envied and being able to discuss it openly. I believe this has become because they don't want to appear arrogant and even thinking that someone could possibly envy them. We can discuss our being jealous of someone or something, but to say we think someone is envious of us sounds haughty. Sorry, that's my affirmations. Most of the time, you're going to hear narcissists calling you a narcissist. But if you sit back and you wonder to yourself, am I being a narcissist? 90% of the time, you're not. It's them. Because most people who are narcissists don't have the ability to self introspect to even consider that they would be a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? So if you've even considered, am I really? Am I the one? It's not you, it's them. Daughters of narcissistic mothers usually do not see their own goodness enough to recognize envy for what it is, but believe they have done something wrong once again. Well, for you, this envy was very real, particularly if you can recall specific comments, criticisms, judgments your mother made about you or about the things that you did. I remember so much about the criticisms and judgments of my mother. And I didn't realize that those criticisms and judgments were coming out of envy or jealousy. I really took on those critiques thinking that they were true. You might have tried to make sense of them before, but it is important for you now to write down any comments that felt like envy. So this is where we get into some actual like homework, where you have to do some homework at home by yourself to kind of understand what's happening with the relationship between you and whoever the narcissist was in your life. Even though this book is about mothers and daughters, it can be about sons and fathers, mothers and fathers, sons and mothers. You know, whatever the dynamic is, you can switch it around to fit whoever the narcissist was in your family. But it says it is important to write down any comments that felt like envy. Seeing them in black and white in your journal will help you recognize the distortions that came your way and created an awful feeling inside your very soul. If you blamed yourself for these comments and tried to right what seemed to you to be a misunderstanding, your efforts no doubt failed. For it is impossible to mend a narcissist's distorted sense of envy. Envy just allows the insecure mother to feel temporarily better about herself. When she envies and then criticizes and devalues you, she cancels you out of her life and in this way diminishes the threat to her fragile self esteem. Envy is a powerful tool in the narcissist repertoire, and you have likely seen it in your mother's interactions with yourself and other people. When she directs it at you, however, it creates a feeling of helplessness and painful self doubt. To release yourself from your confusion and see the envy for what it is, recognize your own goodness and strength. Do not be spiteful or retaliate with ugliness. The envy that is thrown your way does not belong to you, and you do not have to identify with it. You can be real and feel the hurt and the sadness, but not attack back or seek revenge. Hang on to that. Hang on to the good that is within you. Most daughters I have worked with are not vengeful, so you most likely are not either. That's one thing that most people who are not full blown narcissists, we have a lot of empathy, we have a lot of sympathy, and we're not naturally the kind of people who just seek out to hurt somebody else. Even when somebody wrongs us, we still don't seek revenge. Like, that's what normal people are like. But narcissists are not like that. They do not think the same as we do. Most daughters I have worked with are not vengeful, so you are likely not either. Is it any wonder that Cinderella is the favorite fairy tale mentioned by daughters of narcissistic mothers? Eradicating negative messages. To rid yourself of negative messages, first think about how you will make a wide range of decisions. As you base your choices on information that you trust, is this information usually from a reliable source? Do you typically have data that tell you that this source is someone on whom you can rely, someone with the credentials to be giving you advice or assistance? Have you generally had a good experience with this person and been able to trust his or her perceptions, information, and knowledge? Does this reliable source mostly treat you with respect and care about how you feel? Most likely, your answer to each of these questions is yes. If I Hold on. I ask you then, is it wise to take those internal messages from childhood and believe them, since they came from someone who was not authentic, loving, or empathetic? Who could not establish an intimate bond with you, who projected her own feelings onto you as she was not in touch with her own emotions, and who was envious of you? Why would you allow this person to define who you are? That's one thing that I had to ask myself. Why would I allow my mother's words about who she thinks that I am or says that I am? Why would I allow them to bother me? Because she doesn't get to define who I am. Her words do not get to define me. Oh yes, absolutely love body language, reading faces and all that stuff. Like I love it. I've done a couple of books, not on book club, by myself about body language, eye movements, and those types of things. It is a little bit confusing, but once you read over it more than once, because you do have to read over it more than once and you have to take notes so that you can actually study the body language and patterns of patterns of behavior. But once you do that, it is a really fun to learn. I learned so much by just learning a little bit of body language, especially when I use what I learned to see if the person who's talking to me is worthy of my time. You know what I mean? Like I use it now to kind of vet out other people. Like, are you even worthy of my time? Remind yourself of this as you take a pen or go to a computer and identify and record those negative messages. Write them down in one column, and in another column, write about why they are simply not true. In doing so, you are redefining what you believe to be true about yourself. Is it really true, for example, that you are not good enough? Who says? You only have to be good enough for you. Once you have identified the negative messages and have answered back saying why they are not correct, your next task is to remember to do this same exercise whenever one of those messages pops up into your mind. This will help erase the old and put in the new. Each time one appears in your mind, it will take some practice, but eventually your persistence will pay off. Did you catch what I said? So basically she's saying that in one column write down the things that your mother said negatively to you, and then in the other column write down why it's not true. And then anytime something negative pops up into your mind, you're going to think to yourself why that is not true, so that you can reprogram your mind to get rid of those negative self thoughts and replace them with more positive thoughts about yourself. Even though working through this recovery program will bring you success, if you have difficulty getting rid of your internalized messages and need additional assistance, this is another time in your recovery that a therapist using EDMR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, could help you. You would take your specific negative messages to your therapist, who will likely ask you to put your traumatic memory with each message for the EMDR therapy to be effective. I don't know if any of you have tried EMDR, but it is really effective when you use it like it is supposed to be used. I would highly recommend. This was the therapy that this was the type of therapy that I was doing with my therapist when I was going to therapy, and it absolutely did help. I also have done hypnotherapy to help rid some of those negative messages in my mind as well. And I did I did hypnotherapy with an actual hypnotherapist, but since then I've been doing my own self hypnosis every single day to help reshape and reframe the thoughts that go into my mind. If you're not comfortable with doing self hypnosis, absolutely do not do that. If you'd like to try hypnosis, send me a DM and I will give you the information for the gentleman who did my own hypnotherapy. I did like 6 months worth of sessions with him, which was very expensive, but totally worth it in the long run. Keep being persistent with yourself. Crack the lot. You deserve it. The separation criteria. How do you know when your real self has developed and has separated from orbiting with mother? How do you know when you have successfully uncoupled from maternal dysfunction and are truly standing tall, strong, and able? James Masterson, in The Search for the Real Self, describes the key capacities of the real self. I have interpreted for daughters below. The capacity to experience a wide range of feelings deeply with liveliness, joy, vigor, excitement, and spontaneity. You allow yourself to feel your authentic feelings and do not create barriers to numb the full gamut of human emotion. You allow yourself to express those feelings in appropriate ways. The capacity to expect appropriate entitlements. You believe in yourself and are no longer filled with the angst of self doubt. So you are freely giving yourself credit where credit is due. The capacity for self activation and assertion. You can identify your dreams and desires and are able to set out and accomplish them while believing you can do it. The acknowledgement of self esteem. You now believe you are worthy and can validate yourself regardless of external worldly approval. The ability to soothe painful feelings. When life creates painful situations, you can comfort yourself, not wallow in misery, and can find solutions. The ability to make and stick to commitments. When decisions are right for you, you can stick to your guns and overcome obstacles, criticisms, and setbacks. Creativity. You can find solutions to problems and be resourceful and also replace and diffuse negatives with positive. Intimacy. You can express yourself fully and honestly in a close relationship with another person with minimal anxiety about abandonment or engulfment. You can create emotional intimacy without fear or anxiety about being abandoned or swallowed up. The ability to be alone. You can enjoy a relationship with yourself and be alone and find meaning within. Continuity of self. Your inner core is real and remains the same throughout the trials and tribulations of life and throughout the aging process. There really is so much that narcissism encompasses. What do you mean too bad we can't do a live? I'm on live right now. Um are you not able to go live? Is your account? I don't know how many followers you have to have in order to go live. You may be thinking, sounds good, but I can never get there. The remaining chapters will assist you in accomplishing all of the above. Remember, however, recovery is lifelong work and you cannot accomplish all of them at once. Here are some encouraging stories of women who have individuated from their mothers. I never understood the individuation process until I began to undergo therapy. Now I can see her and keep me at the same time. I cannot tell you how much this means to me. Aaron, 40. Understanding the envy was a big step for me. This has been a painful thing in my life forever. My mother, sister, and some female friends showed envy, and I always had to keep a tight lid on anything good or successful I was doing because I didn't want to get their wrath. Now I understand it has nothing to do with me, and I am able to be proud of myself and give myself credit. I can't tell you how important this has been to my belief in my system, in myself. I always had to disparage myself to feel accepted, and now I can just be me. Okay, I can help you figure out how to go live. That's not a problem at all. It always seemed like if I made mistakes, I was more accepted by my mother. This is so fucking true of my life. When I did well, she always had something bad to say. Oh my God, I feel like this woman is speaking me, like this is me. Or she would make comments about me getting too high on myself. This hurts so much. Now it doesn't matter what she really says. I have worked so hard on individuating from her because I now know that she is not a reliable source to define me anymore. This finally makes sense. That is exactly how things would go in my life with my mother. Holly, whose mother is a minister, has forever felt pressured and less than because she did not choose her family's religion as an adult. After doing this recovery work, I find that when my mother sends me letters with scripture about what kind of wife I should be, I no longer ruminate for the days and become undone. I am able to accept her beliefs as hers and also accept my own separate beliefs about my spirituality and lifestyle. It feels so neutral now, like I am in control of my life. I used to cry for days after just talking to my mother on the phone. Again, another me thing. She always gave me messages about how I would never quite measure up, and I took it so personally. Now I can see that she is not a reliable source. She has some serious problems that she has always put onto me. I am still think this is so very sad and it sucks, but I no longer take it on. Let's move on to the next chapter so we can focus more on you and your unique qualities as a truly deserving woman. So the next chapter is chapter 12. I will be back tomorrow. Okay, so there's only four more, 12, 13, 14. There's only three more chapters left. So what's today? Tuesday? Okay, so Wednesday we'll do chapter 12. Thursday we'll do chapter 13. And Friday we'll do chapter 14. And then Sunday we will start fresh with Sherry Frankie's book. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and commit. I am committing to you all right now. So hold me to it because I need accountability. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, we're going to start the new book. So I'm going to take off on Saturday, no live on Saturday, and be back Sunday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we're going to finish out this book. And then Sunday, we're going to start the new book. I have to get in the shower too. I smell like dirty dog water and sweat. We'll plan a live together, crack the lack. But yes, please hold me accountable. I need people to hold me accountable. So I will go ahead and make a post so everyone knows that we're finishing out this book on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then Saturday, thank you. You're the title gifter. Oh my gosh, that's so sweet. And then on Sunday, we're going to start Sherry Frankie's book, which I am so excited to start because I know that there is going to be a lot of narcissism, a lot of mother-daughter narcissistic dynamics in there, and it will be very enlightening and inspiring to hear her story so that we can kind of pick out the narcissistic traits that her mother had and what she went through, so that we are more able to identify them in our own lives so that we don't fall prey to another narcissistic relationship. Because 99% of the time, if you are a mother of a narcissistic, if you are the daughter of a narcissistic mother, you have continued to repeat that same relationship style in your romantic relationships until you heal. You are going to continue that relationship with your partners. So it's really important that we know and understand how to heal ourselves so that we don't continue these fucking cycles over and over and over again. I am honest, and I have been in 3 relationships, all with narcissists, and that's because I didn't realize that the very first narcissist that I had in my life was my mother, and all the other relationships that came after mirrored the relationship with my mother. And I kept trying to get from them what I never received from her, and instead I just kept putting myself into more harmful situations, more dangerous situations, and toxic relationships. So I am really so proud of all the work that I have done to heal myself. And if you have been healing yourself from the narcissistic relationship that you've been in, I am so proud of you because you deserve a round of applause. It is a lot of hard work, but if you have not started yet, this is where you start. You came to the right place. And I talk about all things narcissists. Sometimes I incorporate those narcissistic personality disorder and behavior patterns, and I show you with real life people like Gypsy Rose and her relationships. So I do kind of incorporate what we read with what happens in real life so that we are all aware of what's going on and how to spot it in other areas. Because when you're able to spot it in somebody else, you're more likely going to be able to spot it when it happens to you and cut those red flags off before they turn into fire flags. You guys have been having a really good conversation, Becca and Mandolin. Thank you so much for coming on. I will see you all tomorrow. I got to get in the shower, try to clean up my Oompa Loompa hands. Love you so much. I'll see y'all tomorrow.